Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
This is Serious Privacy by TrustArc. Here are your hosts, Paul Breitbart and Kay Royal.
Hey everyone, I'm back. After listening for 3 weeks to the dulcet tones of Ralph O'Brien, for which I'm obviously very grateful, this week it's just me and Kay, catching up on all things privacy. We'll look at India, we'll look at Turkey, we'll look at, of course, the United States, where the Federal Trade Commission announced some new rulemaking process and the federal bill is still moving in Congress. And we look at developments in the European Union. Lots to catch up. The times that the summer was a quiet period are clearly behind us. So without further ado, let's catch up with Kay. My name is Paul Breitbart.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy.
So, Paul, this is a week. You've been gone for 3 weeks. I put a hit out on you. I guess I went cheap because they didn't find you. But let's see if I've got an easy question we could deal with today. Oh, here we go. Today, were you a wallflower or a social butterfly?
I was a wallflower because it was a work from home day and most of my colleagues are on vacation.
There you go.
This is the European summer, so people take time off and people leave and travel and yeah, so there was not a lot of meetings today. Still lots to do, but no, more wallflower than social butterfly. Plus, it's way too warm for me to interact with anybody right
now.
Yeah,
Europe's having a heat wave, right?
Yeah, this is the third or the fourth heat wave while on vacation, and I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment, but it was 35 plus most of the time, so that would be in the high 90s for you, which is not weather I'm very accustomed to and can easily deal with. And yeah, we are back in the 90s, so it's nice and hot, and it's dry, it's very dry. I don't know if you've seen the photos of the River Loire in France.
No.
Which has almost run dry.
Wow. Okay, that kind of sounds like the U.S. then. So Arizona is usually hotter, but not today. Not this week. We're in monsoon season. So the ups and the downs and the sideways and the backwards and weather's just going crazy. Plus, I haven't had coffee yet this morning. So we're definitely going with wallflower today.
Okay, well, I'm on the cocktail hour, so cheers to everybody listening.
Cheers. There you go. Your cocktail, my coffee will make it happen. So, okay. And here's the thing. Our listeners has heard me complain about you being on vacation for 3 weeks. Actually, I'm probably more jealous than complaining. So give us a quick little rundown of what's been going on for you 3 weeks before we dive into some of the really current events.
Well, first of all, let me start by thanking Ralph because he did an amazing job in co-hosting together with you. It was a pleasure listening to you and him banter about all the things, you bitching a little about me being away as well.
And privacy.
Of course. And this is also a weekend privacy week. So no, it's been good. I've been away. I've been out of office for 3 weeks. I've been away for 16 days.
How
traveling
nice.
Across Europe. And we've got this amazing thing here in Europe called Interrail. So you buy a train ticket with a validity of 10 days within 2 months or a month consecutively or 2 months consecutively. And you can just basically board any train that you want. Sometimes you need a reservation, especially for overnight trains you do or for high-speed trains, but for slower trains you don't. Or you can just take the reservation in the morning at the train station when you show up. And you can travel all across Europe with that, which makes it very easy to have a very relaxed vacation and visit a lot of places. So a friend of mine and I, we started in Rotterdam, close to The Hague. We went to Paris for dinner. Then we took a night train to Vienna. And so we woke up in Vienna, spent a few days there, took another night train into Romania, where we met with some privacy friends of Gabriella.
Nice.
That's the good thing of being in privacy. You have friends everywhere. Also in Vienna, we met Romain Robert, who we've had on the podcast before. So had drinks with him, had drinks with privacy friends in Vienna and in Bucharest, and then we went on to Greece. So first Thessaloniki on the coast, then to Athens to see all the old sites. Took a ferry across to Italy, and then via Milan went back home. And then 2.5 weeks were gone.
Wow. That just sounds amazing. I know I saw one picture of you while you were on a railing. So I don't know if you were on a balcony or
No,
what.
that was on the train between Romania and Bulgaria.
Okay. You just looked fantastic. You looked so relaxed and so content. It was awesome to see that.
And it was. I mean, for me, this is the perfect way to travel, especially on vacation. It's very slow and relaxing. And yeah, of course, there are delays, but that's also something you take into account when making the plans. And it was really, really nice.
Oh, that is awesome. And for me, not that you asked, but yesterday was our 21st marriage anniversary.
Congratulations.
So we were very happy. We went to Vegas for the Cybersecurity of the Woman Year Awards. No, I did not win, but the woman who did, Elizabeth Wharton, is absolutely amazing. I'm actually hoping we can have her on the podcast one day. She also has like 10,000 Twitter followers. Definitely out of my league. But funny enough, we didn't stay in Vegas through our wedding anniversary, and we'd gotten married in Vegas. So go figure.
So what did you do? At least you had a nice dinner?
We had a nice dinner. We got to dress up, but I will tell you, we got on the plane and realized I left my gown at home. He thought I packed it. I thought he packed it. So I had to go shopping in Vegas. Oh, darn.
That's such a pity. And you don't like shopping.
Oh, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I wound up with this fantastic fuchsia. It only cost like $90. This fantastic fuchsia, wasn't a gown, a cocktail dress, but the sleeves were huge like wings and had these big rims on it that made them just furl up like, curly butterfly. Oh my gosh, I loved it. So it was awesome. But okay, so that's the day. And today's my mom's birthday, so she never listens to the podcast. But if any of y'all happen to come across my mom, just tell her happy birthday.
Albeit then maybe 5 days late, but
yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's jump into some privacy. Do you want to jump on your side or my side, or should we jump into another country altogether today? Shall we draw straws?
Well, let's jump into Turkey first.
Okay, we drew the straw. Turkey first.
And not so much because a lot of things are happening in Turkey, but because it seems that the Global Privacy Assembly is actually going ahead this year in Istanbul. It will be in a hybrid format, apparently, but you can go in person to the event as well. It's hosted by the Turkish Data Protection Authority, the KVKK. And actually, in the past couple of days, they've really started marketing the event. So registrations are open. I guess we'll see an agenda soon. So it's
that'd be nice.
Sounds to be a very nice event.
Very. We're just going to wear out the word nice today. Very nice. I like it.
It's too much nice, but yeah.
Okay, so your first day back, you drive. Where are we going?
So let's go to India.
Let's go to India. I did hear that they dropped their privacy bill. It's not going to pass as we thought it might. And it seems like the biggest complication was, as you and I discussed, them adding the business information to the privacy bill as well.
Yeah, and I was a bit surprised because we had expected the bill to be adopted last year, just before Christmas. There were only a few final hurdles at the time, and now suddenly it's gone.
Bim, bam, boom.
It's completely gone, and we just have to see what will happen, if there is anything new.
I kind of expect something to happen. I mean, they move with some pretty rapid pace, which is unusual, although frankly, I guess maybe it's becoming the norm now for everything except the U.S., of course.
Well, even the U.S. is moving at an amazing pace.
We hope. Fingers crossed from your mouth to God's ears. Let's see what it does. But yeah, so I was surprised by that.
I'm not in the best relationship with God, so maybe that's not too helpful.
He's going to turn a deaf ear to you this time. Okay,
yeah,
we got this. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's start with Europe since we're already over on that side of the world.
Yeah, so I think for me, the biggest news this week was the announced rumored intended fine for Criteo by the French Data Protection Authority of 60 million euro. And this has not been confirmed officially because the CNIL says, well, yes, we confirm that we've submitted draft findings and a draft decision to Criteo on an investigation into ad tech tracking, but we are not going to comment publicly on any of the content before the company has had its chance to respond and provide their views that we have considered that. So from the French DPA side, we will not hear anything until the first quarter of 2023, which is when they expect to finalize the decision.
And it's not unusual for those decisions, the potential penalties to go way down after
No,
this
it's
part.
not, although it seems that happens more in Ireland than in France so far. Because if you look at the decision, for example, on Google, the very first GDPR fine of 50 million euros, that was also upheld by the French DPA as intended, and subsequently also upheld by the courts. So I think in France, probably we may have a better chance to see that the sanction will be maintained, will be upheld, and that it will not be changed.
We'll see. Well, as we've said before, French seems to be jumping in, legs and arms and head going underwater. They're just very, very active. But it does surprise me, and I think we've talked about this briefly, the Facebook, which is, again, a hot topic in Europe. It's interesting that if you're in our field and paying attention to our news, Facebook's going to die in Europe. No one's going to use it. But outside the privacy and security and data protection world, nobody's talking about Facebook not being used in Europe.
No, not yet. And I think that will change once the Facebook decision becomes final. That will take a while. It has moved through the consistency mechanism in July. The Irish DPC has confirmed that there have been relevant and reasoned objections raised by the European data protection authorities. So they will now need to review their decision and see what they will do. Officially, there is a 2-week deadline for that in the GDPR.
I was going to say, there's a pretty short deadline.
But they have already indicated that they will probably need a few months to work through all of this. So we'll see what will happen. It's not likely that the Facebook decision will indeed come down in September as originally intended. So it might be that will move closely to Christmas, which then with appeals and other legal procedures may actually give Facebook some respite till the time that maybe we get the thingy up and running.
I wish the thingy would come up and run. I still haven't caught up with Chris Hoff, even though he's moved out of the Department of Commerce, but he still might be able to give some insight, what he can't give information, or we could find someone new to catch up with Department of Commerce. There's some wonderful people we might be able to connect with, get an update on that, because we're sure as heck not really seeing anything in the news. And then the other one that's big news, if we're following this trail here, is Google Analytics.
Yes, well, that's the never-ending story.
Right.
And also for Google Analytics, I think in the end, the decision will depend on the new EU-US data transfer mechanism, whether or not Google will really need to make some work of changing their product. Yeah. And that is basically along the same lines as the Criteo decision. It's all about ad tracking, about transparency. It's not so much for Criteo about the international data transfers, Criteo being first and foremost the French, but still it's also the whole transparency issue that surrounds Google Analytics, the way that that de-identified information can be reconnected to re-identify people because the data set is so large. So I think that whole ad tracking discussion is not over yet. And I think it will intensify in the coming weeks.
Well, they have pushed their cookie initiative off until 2024 now. I think they're on the third iteration of what they're going to do. Google Analytics 4 has been intended to address the objections out of Europe, and Google is requiring companies to move to Google Analytics 4. So I need to do a little bit more investigation on the GA4, see what there is, because, any company using it is supposed to transition to it. But on the other hand, think about it. If we talk about transparency, Google could just come out and say, hey, We're going to collect every single bit of information we can on you from every single media and electronic device, possibly de-identified or not, from your friends, from strangers, from all over the world. We're going to use it in ways that you could never imagine, combine it, infer it, sell it, and lease it to any company that's willing to do something for us or pay us. There's your transparency notice.
Yeah, and I get that is concerning to a lot of people, including myself.
But it's honest, right? It's pretty honest.
To some extent, it's honest, and I think that Criteo is in the same boat. And when it comes to advertising and collecting huge data sets, and they are not the only two. There are many more of these.
Many more
that would do the same, and that could be part of the same investigation. But the danger of ad tech tracking now, for the first time, finally seems to be recognized in the US as well.
Yeah.
We'll talk in a moment about the FTC rulemaking, but I read yesterday in Business Insider an article on the National Defense Authorization Act for 2023 that also contains provisions on online tracking and advertising. And actually, if this bill is passed, as it is before the US Congress right now, the Director of National Intelligence will have to make an assessment of the foreign weaponization of AdTech data within 4 months. Somehow it feels a bit hypocrite, even though there is no hard evidence of the US surveillance institutions using AdTech data for tracking of foreign nationals. It seems very unlikely that they don't. Right. And now suddenly they are concerned that other nations are doing the same. I'm not too sure what to make of that.
Do as we say and not as we do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But I will say one thing about Google that has been very apparent to me lately as I am getting more and more immersed in children's privacy, which will be a wonderful segue into the FTC part, is that Google has 3 privacy notices based on the child's age, and that's pretty cool. And so we're looking at following those, not following Google, following the advanced coding practices for children. We're actually looking at doing that at OutSchool as well. I'm hoping, based on some of the conversations we've had on here with other people, that we're going to be able to produce privacy notices for adults and children that are a lot more on the innovative side, using the internal knowledge we have of the learning processes that people go through, because people learn in different ways. So we're hoping to use visual, we're hoping to use cues and icons, and maybe some, I don't know if I'm going to get the little help me buttons that go everywhere, but maybe video or audio, different things like this, because people learn in different ways.
So how does this actually work? Is it the same content presented differently depending on the age, or is also the data processing different depending on the age?
It's basically the same. Now, under 13, of course, is different. So, but it's basically the same across. And let me see if I can find this link, and I'll make sure to put this in the show notes that we can talk about. So I like what they did here. That's the thing.
You are allowed to like some things that Google does. It's not all bad.
I do like a lot of things that Google does, but let's just.
I mean, you can have a lot of criticism of the company, but to some extent, the software also just works.
It does. It really does. So, okay, I'm sending you the link. That way, live, he can see what I'm talking about. And just so everybody else can follow along with us, it is the HTTPS, blah, 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 families.google.com/family-link/privacy/child-disclosure. But if you just Google Family Link Privacy Guide for Kids, you'll find it. And they have 3 divisions on here, ages 6 to 8, ages 9 to 12, and then, of course, not covered by COPPA, ages 13 to 17. And so the information is pretty much the same, but as you scroll through it, you'll notice that the way it is presented for the children is a little bit easier for them to understand. And of course, some of it does change a little bit. Now, here's the thing. It's not directed towards children.
No, I wanted to say.
Yeah, it's not directed towards children. It is directed towards the parents. However, what we're looking at doing is actually doing this, but directing it towards the child, because the age-appropriate design code actually addresses that children learn at different ways at certain ages. And so for certain ages, You don't give them flowery language. Actually, you shouldn't do that for anyone. You should be very, very clear and give them hard cut rules. You don't tell them you should avoid sharing your birthday in any of your group chats. That way people don't get more information. You should. What you tell them is don't share your birthday.
Yeah.
So depending on the age of the child and how they learn it. So it's not perfect. The other thing I will say is I came up with Panda for my, my mascot for the privacy program. I did Goldilocks and the Three Bears, but one of them was Panda. And it was privacy and acceptable use and necessity and, data protection and whatever. And it was really cute. I also did BEAR, BEAR, be ethical, accountable, and realistic. So, and then when I saw the Google thing and they had Panda, now their Panda thing is based off their algorithm that Mr. Panda developed. His last name was Panda. But anyway, it was kind of cute. So there's a little segue into some really good practices that I see coming out of Google.
I like the intention.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the content yet, if I look at it right now.
Oh, yeah. No.
Because
but I like the age division, but in a different direction.
That I do like, but it's still, they imply that the language is indeed aimed at the child and not at the parents. Also the way it's formulated. And at least if I look at the Dutch version, which automatically loaded on my screen, the language, especially for 6 to 8, is way too complex for a 6 to 8 year old.
Yep. So I love the division. I don't love actually how they present it, but that's kind of where we're aiming for without school is towards that age.
Yeah. And I would hope that the visuals, especially in these kind of situations, especially when you are dealing with children, that the visuals are actually meaningful and not just comical, not just fun. And they are
not just fun. Well, I'll tell you, one of the reasons I went with Goldilocks and the Three Bears is because we already have a mascot for Kappa. We have Kappa Koala. So in our company, so ours would be meaningful, but that's what I'm working on now with our design creators and our UX. Don't expect this to come quickly. We're like a lot of other companies. There's a lot of work that has to go into it, but I'm hoping at least by the end of the month, I can roll out the new notice. And it in itself is adhering to some of the design elements that you would when presenting information. It breaks off into colored sections, has nice divisions. It has some expandable, different things like that. And then it will have the supplemental notices that tie to it that you'll be able to go and look at for California, for Europe, South Korea, things like that. So I'm excited about what we're doing, but yeah, it's exciting. I haven't ever worked really hardcore into children's privacy before. And of course, in Europe, we go with under 16 rather than under 13 here in the US, but there's a lot of countries that literally go to the age of the adult. If you're not 18 or might be over 18, then all the child protection requirements apply.
That sounds good. And it must be fun to have a whole different audience for a change.
It really is. When I presented the company-wide training and used Goldilocks and the Three Bears, which actually our icon is called the Squidge. So I let them choose whether it was Goldie Squidge or Squidgy Locks, and they all voted for Squidgy Locks. So we have Squidgy Locks and her Three Bears. And I did have to play the Jungle Book song with the bare necessities. I had to go there. But it was interesting because, one of the things I loved about TrustArt is they loved me for who I was. They loved you for who you were. Anybody could show up and be themselves authentically. And you don't have that at a lot of places. OutSchool is the same. They accept me for who I am and I can show up authentically. They may not have known what they were getting into, but
they have accepted it.
But they have accepted it, which is fabulous. So I love what we're doing. That was just a little short side note, everybody. You're probably going to hear me talk a little bit more about child privacy now, trust and safety, which really integrates with privacy. Because if you think about safety for children online, it's privacy.
Well, then I'll just continue talking about the risk-based approach because that is still at the core of what I'm doing at Katsuwiki.
Exactly.
There is no children's privacy for us because we don't target children. They are not allowed to have an account on the marketplace.
Right. And that's the way it should be. But here's the thing. You're now in You're now in a risk-based approach, which you really haven't had to do hands-on before. So you're learning a lot of things that we've been talking about. And I think sharing your experiences with our listeners as well would be helpful for them when they're looking at doing things.
Yeah, it's fun. And I've found an approach that at least works for us. trying to present different scenarios to our management teams and our operational teams to show them, okay, if you do this, then this is the risk involved. And if we try to change it a little bit in this direction, the risk goes down and it's more user-friendly. But yes, it's also more work. And they need to meet their roadmaps as well. So they need to balance out what is feasible, what is desirable, what is also meeting our shareholders' expectations. So,
and you were hiring somebody, right?
Yeah, we have hired a paralegal that will support both.
Congrats.
That will support both data protection and the commercial legal side. The original intention was to have a separate paralegal just for data protection, but for various business reasons, we could not make that happen yet. But at least there is some support now also.
Good.
The compliance program, we're working on updating our processing activities register and all the fun stuff, and a lot of other things that I want to get done, including indeed an update of the notice. So that's hopefully for Data Protection Day next year.
So here's the thing, all of y'all listening, now you know Paul's struggling with the same thing all the rest of us have struggled with for a while. Privacy gets no budget. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know yet. Privacy had a bit of a budget when I came in, but I joined on January 10. The budgets were decided in the fall. So I will be going through the first budget cycle actively in the fall.
Okay.
And of course, trying to get some more budget for my program. But in any case, I'm happy that there was budget for software
for
already.
You.
There was budget for me, for my salary, but also budget for me to at least deploy software.
Right.
Which was...
and you chose?
Oh, obviously, I went with something green. No, after I did a full RFP because I also was curious to see what was in the market right now. But yeah, of course, we went with TrustArc.
Yeah, I was going to say, we are still sponsored by TrustArc. Both of our hearts still belong in TrustArc. I'll give Paul credit. He actually did do a full RFP on TrustArc because TrustArc doesn't have a huge presence in Europe. And he was honestly going to go through whatever was best for his company. But frankly, people that are serious about privacy, we here buy TrustArc.
Yes.
And I would recommend that they buy TrustArc. Okay, side note, I don't understand why more don't. They really do have the best product.
Well, and of course, you know that for me, one of the main reasons to go with TrustArc was Nimity Research.
Yeah, well, of course, because it's the best research.
I mean, I had been dealing I've been working without Nimity Research for the better part of 6 months.
Oh,
and
ouch.
I just missed it. I really missed it.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to have that resource as well, because it makes my life a lot easier.
Now here, did you go and look at the country pages?
I have.
They have now rolled out the country pages where you can go and look up the country where your data is going and be able to identify what laws they have in place that would impact the safety of the individuals, the security, the privacy, all of that great stuff. They have a score. I worked with them on the very first scores of the countries where TrustArc data goes. And yeah, the U.S. risk score is pretty high, but it also depends on what kind of data you're sharing. So it was really, really cool to go through it. Now they've launched it. I don't know if they have it for every country. I didn't look at every country, but it is fantastic information to do your transfer impact assessment.
Yeah, and they've also updated the risk register to include additional columns
to
sign off on the data transfer risk assessment and document everything properly and document your additional measures and all of that.
I love it.
So I'm very happy with that. I'm not in the stage that I've been doing all of my risk assessment for all of my contracts, because that's just not something you can do within 6 months. But we'll get there. Yeah, and I'm happy that I'm able to document it. Talking about the US risk score.
Okay.
Will you finally be lowering some of that risk with more stringent privacy regulations, either from the FTC or by adopting ADDPA or by abolishing your surveillance laws, or what did happen in the past 3 weeks? Anything?
I don't think we're going to abolish surveillance laws. If they did, they're just going to go, underground, and we'll still have them probably. But I didn't say that from an official perspective. But yeah, the FTC advance notice of proposed rulemaking is pretty cool. It does take a while going under this, just giving everybody notice. This isn't going to be a fast process. But what it does is it states affirmatively that the FTC wants to specifically pass rulemaking addressing privacy concerns, addressing AI, addressing ethics, addressing security. And you may know that right now, the FTC's only authority to enforce privacy, security, ethics on AI, all of this stuff is only because it's under Section 5 of the unfair and deceptive trade practices portion. So, and they can't issue civil penalties for that unless a company violates what the settlement or the orders that come down are. So it's interesting that, we're accustomed to that now, which means you better be careful in your privacy notices. You don't say something that you don't do and vice versa. But now they actually want real rulemaking specifically addressing this area, which will absolutely double, triple, exponentially expand what they're able to enforce on. And if Congress passes any laws on this, that's going to expand them too, because they'll probably look at the FTC to enforce them. So the FTC's advance notice of proposed rulemaking, not going to go fast, but it is there, might actually propel, encourage, push Congress to actually pass a federal privacy law. Now, if you're following the federal privacy law, they've had some hearings on it. They've done some information gathering on it, but that's a big tug with California, because even though it says it will honor current privacy rulemakings in place or privacy laws in place, not really. If you get down to the nitty gritty, it kind of decimates their real power as to what the laws are doing. And of course, that doesn't sit well with California. So we're kind of, we're going to take a poll. We're going to launch it on the Serious Privacy page. What do you think will happen first? Is it going to be the ADPA? Is it going to be the thingy? Is it going to be the FTC privacy and security ruling, which, by the way, they're also going down the line to work on surveillance across the board, but specifically on children. They have issued notices. They're very upset at the surveillance going on children, especially through ed tech, things like that, because a lot of schools did online programming. So that's what they do. So do you think it's going to be the FTC? Is it going to be the ADPA? Is it going to be the thingy? What do you think is going to happen first?
Well, I mean, if something has to happen first, then it's ADPA.
Yeah.
Because there is a hard deadline come November with the U.S. elections. So I'm still rooting that will come first. The thingy won't be able to be confirmed by November. It's too late.
Yeah.
The European Union needs its time for assessment and all the full procedures. And given that the executive order still has not been published, even though the last we heard was a publication expected in the final week of July, it's now August.
Yeah. Look, he's checking his watch, people.
12? Yeah, I'm trying to find out what the date is. It's August 12. On my calendar, that is beyond the final week of July.
Yeah.
And we still have not seen the draft executive order or the final executive order. So any chance of having an EU-US data transfer agreement by Christmas is out of the window. We may be hoping for Easter next year, but Christmas it certainly won't be. So
not going to be a Christmas miracle?
It's not going to be a Christmas miracle.
So here's the thing. Most of these things are likely not to happen this year, including the FTC, because once they do the rulemaking, that pushes off to next year and everything. Not likely to happen this year. And I haven't heard rumors of any particular state law that's really, really high up there. It's going to be the next new privacy laws. So it looks like everything's tomorrow. Yeah.
I love tomorrow, but I prefer today.
Yeah, exactly. Right. In the privacy world, today or tomorrow is a year. We do a year's worth of work in one day, but also, okay, I'm going to stop with that metaphor and we're just going to move on.
What should we read into the fact that it was not a bipartisan decision at the FTC, that it was a 3-2 Democratic decision to move forward with the advanced rulemaking, whereas the bill in Congress is bipartisan?
Well, yeah, mostly on its surface, yes. But yes, that is one thing that's interesting. The FTC commissioners are supposed to be balanced as much as possible. There's always going to be one party that rules because it's an uneven number. However, I suppose it is possible that the uneven number could be an independent party. Not typically, but it could legitimately happen. Same thing for our Supreme Court. It's supposed to be well balanced between liberals and conservatives. I don't go Democrats and Republicans. It's not all the Democrats. It's not all the Republicans. But yes, it's supposed to be as balanced as possible between it. That way you get all viewpoints. And of course, they're uneven numbers, so you have a majority whenever there is a vote. So I don't read a whole lot into that. I think that's par for the course of what we're seeing here in the U.S. Trust me, it's getting ugly here on some line.
Well, it's election season, so it's a silly season, I guess.
Well, I don't know if you heard, but Trump has pleaded the fifth.
Yes, I heard. There was also a thing in Mar-a-Lago earlier in the week. I don't, yeah.
And shouldn't any president be accountable?
I'm just going to say one thing.
What?
3 words. But her emails.
True. Yes, there should be pride. Yeah. Okay.
Let's leave it at that.
We'll just leave it at that. Let's talk about Europe a little bit as we sign off. This has been a little bit longer episode than usual, other than we are going to publish the multi-group episode. My production skills while Paul is out are challenged to the extreme. Let's just leave it at that. It's not that they're hard. I think I'm more the perfectionist. So I do the final production, but finding the time to actually do it outside work hours has been challenging, especially with the monsoons here in Arizona. My lupus and fibro are just going haywire. But we stumbled on.
At some point, maybe you should just ask for more budget and get a producer too.
Right? So that sounds like a great note to close on. I think we've covered the world essentially, except for one day I'm going to find something involving the Arctic or the Antarctica.
Well, and it's been a long time since we've spoken about the Pacific, so
yeah,
maybe we should go back and find somebody again to talk to in Australia or New Zealand.
Agreed. And South America. We need to pull someone in from South America, really South America. Well, we could do Central America. We could.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to hear from someone again from South America, get them back on the show, get some coverage there. Just so y'all know, we do think the world. And we might be able to reach out to Commissioner Z for Singapore. Yeah, so we really do need to get some more perspectives on the show as we go. Paul, it is fantastic having you back.
It's good to be back. And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of Serious Privacy. Thank you all for listening. If you like us, please rate and review us in your favorite podcast episode on your favorite podcast platform. You will find us on social media. On LinkedIn, you'll just look for Serious Privacy, look for our page, and join the conversation there. On Twitter, you'll find us at @podcastprivacy. You will find Kay on Twitter as Heart of Privacy, and myself as Europol V. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
That was Serious Privacy.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data, and get credible, cited answers based on NIMBY research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.